welcome back, everybody. Multiverse of Fandom podcast. We're back after a 2-month layoff.
Yes, we're back, and we're back with a very special episode.
Very special indeed.
Because it is now the end of Kenobi. Kenobi is over.
Alleged ending.
Over.
We don't know yet.
Well, the season. We'll say that the season is over.
Uh-huh.
We got through the 6 episodes, and today we're going to kind of break down our thoughts. We're going to go through certain scenes in certain episodes.
Yep.
And then just give our overall thoughts. Just basically a big spoiler-filled review.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor, shut this off and go see it.
It's hard to believe if people haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, if you're watching this, you've probably
seen it
or listening to it. So
yeah, no. Okay,
so
let's just get right into it. Go with episode 1, and or what was it? It was in chapters. Chapter 1.
Part 1.
Part 1.
They call it parts, which really interesting because on IMDb they have the letters just like they do the episodes of Star Wars, and we'll talk about that later on. Yeah.
All right, so it opens up. How did it initially start? Was it the Inquisitors that it started with, or was
it was
Obi-Wan?
either the Inquisitors or we should have rewatched it, but we didn't. It was either the Inquisitors tracking the Jedi, or it was Obi-Wan on doing his job, the Tatooine job, whatever that was, meat cutting.
Well, either way, it just seemed like he was. Honestly, it kind of showed that he was just worn out, and he wasn't the Obi-Wan that we knew from the prequels. Yeah,
he definitely looked aged. 10 years looks good because I rewatched. I'm rewatching episode 3 right now. 10 years is spot on.
Yeah.
Even though it's been longer than that.
Well, yeah, for him it's been what, 20 almost.
Yeah, they filmed episode 3 in 2003, so
almost 20 years.
Basically 20 years. Yeah.
So crazy, but no, he looked tired. He looked kind of, even you could say, defeated. And you see so much of that throughout the series where he doesn't have kind of the same fight in him that he used to.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell pretty quickly that the guy's rusty. And not only that, but he hasn't used the Force. All that stuff's dormant.
For 10 years.
Dormant inside of him. I mean, I think he was able to do some menial tasks. I think we saw maybe 1 or 2 things.
Yeah, the very strenuous Force, to use the Force was not easy for him.
Yeah, no, that definitely wasn't. And then once we started actually getting into the fighting and all that stuff, and then I think episode 2, which we'll talk about, you could clearly see that. All right, this guy hasn't done anything for quite a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, episode 1 and 2 I like to group together because we got those at once.
Oh yeah, we did.
Right.
Yeah,
so
we did.
That was kind of the intro to the whole series. So I mean, I think overall it was really a really great start to the show. And I think there was a lot of, I don't want to say negativity, but people were expecting something else, and I wasn't expecting anything. I don't know about you, but that was what we got in episode 1 and 2. Granted, there were some issues with the chase scenes and some things. It doesn't look exactly like the prequels,
right.
And I think maybe that's what some people were annoyed with, but it didn't bother me.
I didn't. There wasn't really anything that bothered me. I mean, I guess you could say that it was just so long in the making that I was just excited and nostalgia and everything. But I thought that overall, the first episode especially, when we saw the Inquisitors were chasing after that Jedi, and that Jedi seeks out Obi-Wan.
Yep.
Finds Obi-Wan after Obi-Wan was.
Oh, that's right.
He was looking over Luke.
Yeah, that was in the desert.
Yeah, and then the other Jedi comes, asks him for help, and he's like, "What happened to you?" All this stuff. For Obi-Wan, I feel like he was kind of continuing the mission that he was set on by Master Yoda.
Yeah, he's just watching over Luke.
Watch over Luke. Make sure that he's safe.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he was doing. He can't really express that to another Jedi other than to say just hide, stay hidden.
You're not supposed to. I mean, Luke's the true chosen one. The real chosen one is here. We're watching over, and it's just go back to give it up. It's over.
Yeah, just
It's
so
over.
go into hiding and protect yourself. Like that's all, and that's it was like crazy to see, and I'm sure it was like for someone like Obi-Wan who was kind of a Jedi through and through, where his kind of mission and goal is to protect people. I feel like you could see in that scene it kind of like broke him to say that a little bit more than he already was.
Yeah, and that's a great. Like Ewan's a great actor. You could clearly see that he was, he wanted to tell the guy something else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think initially I bought into it. I'm like, why is he saying this? I'm like, all right, well, he's not going to tell him.
Yeah,
everything.
he can't tell him about what his like real mission or why he's on Tatooine.
No. So essentially the main exposition of the story is Leia getting kidnapped.
Right.
And Kenobi, Jimmy Smith's playing Senator Organa.
That was cool.
Yeah, we got him back, and we got Joel Edgerton
Uncle Owen.
playing Uncle Owen, who's back. Who played Uncle Owen?
He looked exactly
the same. Exactly the same.
It was
I think maybe
crazy.
the woman that played Aunt Beru looked exactly the same too.
She did.
Exactly the same.
They
Everything
both,
looked
they
the same.
both looked very similar.
And we met Reva. That was that earlier episode 1. You met Reva, who's the third sister.
Third sister, yeah.
We met the fourth sister, who's Son Kang, or the fourth brother rather, or was the fifth brother?
I don't know.
I get mixed
exactly,
up.
Yeah.
Sung Kang from Fast and Furious.
Han. That was really cool.
I didn't realize it was
didn't-
him. I thought it was someone else.
I kept hearing the voice and I had to look it up and I was like, no way that was Han. So that was like a cool little addition.
Yeah, I appreciated that more towards the end. Now that I'll rewatch it after I finish
Right.
episode 3, and I'll appreciate that a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then the Grand Inquisitor,
Mm-hmm.
who was played by I forget the guy's name, but that actor was in Homeland. Is a good actor.
Oh, okay.
And Grand Inquisitor from Star Wars Rebels. I haven't seen it though, but
Well, there was a lot of, and obviously, we see. I think it was in episode 2 when they first kidnapped Leia. So it may have been episode 3 when we saw this, but it was episode 2 where they first kidnap Leia. I believe Obi-Wan goes to that planet to save her, to rescue her. And then, and then at the very end of the episode, the third sister kills the Grand Inquisitor,
that's right.
and we get that very cool kind of close up of Obi-Wan, close up of Anakin, where she says like,
Still alive, yeah.
yeah, like he'll never stop hunting you or something. Like you can't escape him, she says, and it was like Obi-Wan realizing that Anakin wasn't dead. That was like an interesting.
I think that was another quote unquote issue that people had was it was assumed that he knew that but people forgot that Obi-Wan didn't know that. People didn't know that Vader was a thing at the end of episode 3.
So that was like a cool. I like that scene a lot where they did it. He didn't realize that Anakin was Vader. Anakin was alive and is Vader.
Yeah, there's no social media in the Star Wars universe, so people aren't putting up on something like it's Lord
Well,
Vader.
and he didn't want people. Does he even want people knowing that he's Anakin
No.
Skywalker? Like he's Darth Vader.
Exactly.
Like, Anakin's dead.
So I mean, even if he heard the name Vader or Darth Vader, he probably assumed it was the
It was just some
Emperor's
random
new apprentice.
Yeah, some random guy that the Emperor found.
But I think it's safe.
Palpatine
I
found.
think it's safe to say that he didn't know who Vader was.
No,
he hadn't
that's-
heard the name at all.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
didn't seem like that at least.
So I think that was a surprise for me too initially.
Yeah.
Because it should be assumed that he didn't know, but for some reason it didn't click with me initially. But then we get it. All right, fine. He knows that now. He's alive, and it kind of goes from there into episode 3, which is where things really start to pick up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, episode 3 was very good. It was cool to see even in episode 3, even in like the third episode where it's still very early in the Empire. It's like very like pre obviously Luke and everything. You still see that there are rebels, like that the Rebel Alliance is forming.
Yeah,
against
forming.
The Empire.
Yeah. It's in its infancy.
It's literally
yeah.
in its infancy.
Yeah.
Like they've just started. They basically all they do now is help Jedi move from place to place.
They looked They looked more like smugglers to me.
Right.
Which is
Yeah,
cool
that
because
was cool. I like that too.
because we never got we got Rogue One, but Rogue One happens later. But
Yeah.
we never really saw like the birth of the rebellion, which is cool because you kind of got that
in
here.
Rogue One, like the rebels were still there. Like the rebels were kind of giving it to the
Yeah.
Empire.
Yeah.
It wasn't their like you said, their infancy, which we kind of saw here. Like this was just a small group of people getting people who needed protection from one place to another.
Yep.
It wasn't them fighting, and we kind of see like their first real battle with the Empire was when Obi-Wan was like, we need to like fight them now. We need to defend as long as we can.
Yeah, in the hangar, episode
and
5.
escape
Yeah.
in episode 5. Yeah, so it's like that could have even been their like first real battle with the Empire.
That's true. So maybe we saw the first real Rebel
we
Alliance.
did, which is cool.
It's very cool. So the episode 3 was a continuation from episode 2, where Kumail Nanjiani, who's the actor, I forget what his fake Jedi name was. That's the actor who played the fake Jedi.
Right, yeah.
Kumail Nanjiani. But so he links up Obi-Wan with this. It's like a trading port ship. So it's an automated ship that basically you get inside, you hit go, and it takes you to it's a trade route.
Yeah.
So it took him to that planet. I think it was Mapuzo, something like that. And I guess Mapuzo used to be this like really lush planet with forests. Haja, yeah, Haja, fake Jedi. So the ship takes Leia and Obi-Wan to Mapuzo, and it's a barren wasteland, and we get.
It was kind of like a post for the Empire.
For the Empire, and the Empire is looking around, most likely for a Jedi. And then we get this really cool scene of Obi-Wan seeing Anakin in his robes.
Mm-hmm.
It was a kind of like a vision or a mirage, and it was really cool because, and I paused it and I went back. It looked almost exactly like Anakin from Episode 3, which is really cool. So he hadn't seen Vader at that point, so that's where his mind went, or maybe it was Vader putting that in his mind. I don't know, but that was really cool.
That was a cool scene.
And then they met I forget that.
The farmer or whatever.
Frank? Was his name Frank?
Was it Frank?
No, it wasn't Frank. That's too easy.
Oh, he was a farmer on the planet or something.
Yeah, he seemed really nice, but then he basically sold him out.
Well, because he was a supporter of the Empire, and he wanted to be clearly in their good favor. So
Yeah, but
he sold them out and was like, yeah, I picked these two up.
But Obi-Wan ended up, kicking their butt with the help of her name escapes me now. One of the rebel.
She was undercover.
She was an undercover rebel alliance.
Tala Durith.
Tala, that's who it was.
Yeah, we see Tala there.
So we meet Tala there, and she helps Obi-Wan, and they go into one of the cities of Mapuzo, and that's where we get a first glimpse of Vader.
Yeah. And it was a very cool, like this is, I feel like, what Star Wars fans, I mean, not to speak for all Star Wars fans, but I feel it, like, we've been kind of, like, missing this. Well,
we didn't get it. We never got any of this.
We've never got. That's what I'm saying. Like we're trying to get something like this where it's just full on Vader being as badass as he possibly can be, and this is like this was like that tease of that, because in episode 3 we see he's bringing the people into the middle of the street. He's snapping their necks just by basically closing his
force
hand.
choke. Yeah. Force choke.
Doing the force choke. He's just bringing people out from that are clearly inside of buildings. He's just ripping them out of buildings and stuff. And it's such like a cool scene. And Obi-Wan sees him. He's like, you can see the fear in his eyes because he can't believe it. And then Tala and Leia go off in that tunnel. And Obi-Wan
stays and fights Vader
because he's trying to this
is the first fight.
Lead him away from Leia.
And this is something I was thinking about. I'm really glad we got 2 fights.
Yeah,
we got the first encounter,
mm-hmm.
which clearly was one-sided because Obi-Wan hadn't used the lightsaber, and then we'll get to it, and then the final battle, which was epic too.
Yeah.
But the first battle, obviously, Vader had the upper hand early on.
I really think, though, I don't know if I've talked about it with you, like, from just, texting and stuff, but it really seemed like in that first fight that Vader was holding back. As much as, like, obviously he probably wanted to make Obi-Wan suffer as much as he could.
I think that's what it was.
But
Yeah.
even in the scene where Tala explodes that whatever that thing was, she shot at that like canister and it blew up and it was the big flame and stuff. Um, I feel like he could have easily put that flame out with the Force, how he did with some other stuff that he did.
Probably.
but he didn't, and I feel like that's kind of uh, that what's the word? Like I guess that continuation or that story arc or that redemption arc for Vader that we see in the original trilogy where he stops Luke from killing Palpatine and where it's like it's the good parts of Anakin kind of shining through.
Yeah, I was thinking about this last night. I'm up to the part where Anakin kills Mace, and then
Okay.
Palpatine turns Anakin,
Yeah.
and it's almost instantaneous. Like up until that point, you see Anakin teetering on the border of Jedi,
Yeah.
Sith, the dark, the light side. And once he kills Mace Windu, he's like, "What have I done?" And he can't believe it. And then Palpatine's like, "You're henceforth be known as Lord Vader." He's like, "I'll do whatever you say."
Mhm.
And you can tell that he's clearly been turned into Darth Vader. But like
Yeah.
you said, people need to remember, like, he's also still Anakin. There's still Anakin inside of him.
Yeah, he's still got the good parts of Anakin.
So I think you're absolutely right. I think there was probably part of Vader that was they wrote that in there purposefully.
Hmm.
Instead of ending this so early on, there's some hesitation there. There was
Yeah.
some hesitation in the end battle too, and we'll get to that.
Yeah, there was. And okay, so obviously Obi-Wan escapes with the help of Tala and
Yes.
the droid.
The droid, yeah, that can't speak.
And then I believe they put him in the tank.
The back to
the
tank.
back to tank. And I think that's how the episode ends, where they have like a little scene of Obi-Wan kind of thinking of Vader again. And then we get into episode 4. And I think episode 4 was I think it was one of the slower episodes. It was more setup, I believe.
Episode 4 was the shorter episode
Yeah.
of all of them. I think it was like 37 minutes, but
Uh-huh.
I really like this because it referenced a Star Wars video game which you've yet to play called Jedi Fallen Order.
Mm.
Great games. It's pretty short, but if you're a Star Wars fan, you got to play it. And they're doing a sequel, which is going to be even better. The planet where we see that temple in the water, I forget what the planet name is, but it's from
Oh, is it?
the game.
Oh,
And
that's
there's a section of the game with Vader in there.
Oh.
And actually there's a section where I believe the water caves in, as it did in this episode too, which is interesting because this happens before Jedi Fallen Order happens before this.
Before,
So
Obi-Wan.
it's funny that they didn't figure out how to fix that between that and this. But that was really cool. And we haven't mentioned it yet, but something that we picked up on is every episode sort of is mirroring something from its respective prequel or sequel
Yes.
or original trilogy. So the first episode, Phantom Menace, and this first episode, we had a lot of exposition. There was a lot on Tatooine, obviously. Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, you had the chase scene in Coruscant. We had a chase scene in whatever planet that was that Kenobi was running after Leia in, and then Reva was chasing him. The third episode, you had obviously the Mustafar battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan. We had the first battle between Anakin
Which
and
I love that Vader's like base of operations is on Mustafar.
Mustafar. That's really cool.
So
And I think that's Anakin. I don't think that's Vader or Palpatine. I think that's Anakin for some reason, because that's the last place
Yeah.
that's where Anakin died. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean that could be the reason keeping him there, because if he doesn't kind of remind himself that Anakin is now dead, then maybe he stops being Vader.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that is a cool.
And then in episode 4 of Obi-Wan, we have them sneaking into that base in the water planet with the temple. And in episode 4, New Hope, we have at the end everybody sneaking into the Death Star.
Right.
But I liked episode 4. It was shorter, but you got to see more lightsaber play with Obi-Wan.
Yeah, and I feel like it had like its purpose, because it was Obi-Wan. Like you can't just get to episode 6
No.
with that final battle without having this this kind of reemergence.
Yeah.
And kind of like getting the rust off.
Yeah, and the other thing is there were some callbacks to Clone Wars where we saw
Yeah.
the dead Jedi that were housed there, that
Yeah.
were kept, the remains. That was pretty cool. I don't know who those Jedi were, but I had read that some of them were in, one or two of them were from the animated series.
Yeah.
which is cool because everything is connected now, and we're finally getting this, this big, line is finally being connected with the Clone Wars and now Kenobi in Episode 3, and it's really cool to see them connect everything, even though some of these movies were made in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely think that Episode 4 had a very big purpose.
Yeah,
Very
I
big
think
purpose.
so too. And then, which then leads us to Episode 5, where I think Episode 5 really hit in the right in like the feels in terms of nostalgia,
Oh yeah.
because that opening scene, and I literally was like, "Is that Coruscant?"
What was the? Oh yeah, the opening scene. Yep, the flashbacks.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
That was really cool.
that was actually spoiled for me.
Oh, that was the part that was spoiled.
I saw it wasn't. I didn't get any context, but I had flipped open Twitter, and the first thing I saw was Hayden Christensen, clearly older, with the robes from Episode 2. I'm like,
Yeah.
And then
That's
obviously
tough.
I was thinking the whole day, like, I wonder what it is. I wonder what they're gonna do. And they hit the nail on the head. It was really great.
That was
It
really
was really,
great.
really
And
great.
it wasn't just the opening scene, which was nice. It was
Continuous.
we got it at the beginning, and then things happened. We got a cool shot of Vader looking out into space, and then it goes back to Coruscant, and you kind of see it. It almost feels like it's being shown from both of their eyes, like they're both looking back and thinking about that like day or that training session.
Yeah, and I talked to my cousin about this a little bit. The one thing that kind of bothered me about the flashback was I don't know if they tried to de-age them. I don't think they did.
It didn't really feel.
They didn't
like
look
that.
like that.
They kind of obviously played with the hair a little bit for Kenobi.
Of course, and Anakin,
they fixed Anakin, so it was similar. And you had an interesting point, which I wanted you to bring up.
Yeah, so while I was watching it, I was like, oh, okay, well, this is clearly, this doesn't look like them from,
Yeah.
if you go back and you look at Attack of the Clones and you look at Revenge of the Sith, like their faces are tighter, they look younger.
Yeah.
I think Christensen was 20, Ewan must have been 30, maybe
Yeah.
late 20s for Attack of the Clones. And, they're obviously much, much older when this happened. And then I thought about it a little bit more, and it made a little bit more sense because they're remembering this. Both of them are remembering it. We're seeing both of them separately remember this. So I like to think of it more as it's not a flashback. Yes, this did happen at one point, but they're each remembering it from their current self.
Yeah.
So we're seeing, Hayden without the burns, Ewan without his outfit back in the scene. And it doesn't really make much sense, but
Well, I kind of get what you're saying, because it's like, even like Obi-Wan, he doesn't look as weathered as he does in the present. Say.
Yep.
So it's like him kind of remembering the best that he can what he used to be.
Exactly.
And
That's there it is. There it is.
Yeah, and
There
it's the same way with Hayden with Anakin, that he's remembering what he used to be, but you're obviously not going to remember yourself or kind of put yourself exactly how you used to be. You're going to kind of base it off of yourself now a little bit.
No, and we're watching it right now, and just looking at the combat too. Not to get off topic, but the combat in Kenobi is trending towards the original trilogy, which is much slower because people aren't training as much, people aren't teaching as much.
Yeah, exactly.
But the fighting in this flashback is very accurate to what it
quick.
was in the Clone Wars.
It's very like fast paced, very like they're doing all like the around the back stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very different.
No, and they look like they're in their prime, both of whom being much older than they were when they filmed it.
Yep.
And obviously we had that cool moment where Hayden had Anakin had the high ground, which is interesting because then Obi-Wan throws that in his face and
it's because it's literally that. I love that scene. I love this where he, Anakin basically tells him to yield, and then Obi-Wan's like, you're so focused on winning.
You're so quick to win.
That you don't look at the big picture, and then again, it's like. And you could see in that scene kind of the anger that Anakin has. He's like, I can never like win, or even that, or it's just like I can never get it right or something. And again, we see that in the final scene of Episode 5. It's like he's teaching him another lesson.
Yep.
He wants to be so quick. And I'm referencing the scene where he pulls the ship down. which
Yeah,
was
yeah,
badass.
yeah.
By
That was
the way.
badass. That was great.
So badass that he just ripped the ship out of the air. He was so quick to do that, and he probably used up a lot of strength in order to do that. Where he pulled it down, ripped the doors open, ship's empty,
Yeah, and then the other ship
and then
behind
the
it,
other ship
the
goes away. It's
decoy.
like that's clearly Obi-Wan a little shot back at that, being like, you're too quick for victory, and you don't see the bigger picture. We're trying to play you, and you played right into our hand.
Yeah, I mean, and this is, I'll ask the question again at the end, but this scene in and of itself, it's 3 minutes. I'm sure it cost millions of dollars to make, but it absolutely 100% protects George Lucas's legacy and only enhances it, I think.
Yeah.
Because now you have, this isn't episode 2. I think this is pre-episode 2. I don't
Probably, yeah.
unless they're saying it was spliced, okay, this happened somewhere.
Between it.
From looking around online, I think this is like pre-episode 2.
Okay.
But it could very well be during, because he's looking at Padme's tower.
Yeah, which was I also like that a lot.
And that I actually didn't realize until after the fact. But I think the scene itself, the flashback, really protects Obi-Wan's legacy. And then apart from that, episode 5 was great, because we had Obi-Wan schooling Anakin with Reva, and what did he say? He's like, I'm not.
Oh, we missed that. That was a big part of it.
What did he say? He was like, I'm not bringing me to him. I'm bringing him to you, because from talking with Reva, he realized that she was a youngling.
She was a youngling, and I kind of had that feeling and that suspicion, and many people did. Like Twitter was kind of blowing up after the first episode, where we see Reva kind of like fully, and we saw that Anakin at the temple and killing the younglings.
Yep.
And we saw there was a close up on one of the younglings, and people later on Twitter, and like I had a feeling, I was like, could that have been her?
Yeah.
And
it was her.
Behold, it was her.
That's cool.
And it is very cool, but I was like very surprised at her mission. Like, she obviously wanted to get as close to Vader as she could, which makes sense because she wanted to get her revenge. But like to a certain point, it's like, how well do you want to play the role of this villain? Because Obi-Wan's saying, like, we can do this together.
Yeah.
Like, I can help you.
Yeah.
And she's like, no.
Well, I thought that was that, like, when I say that being stupid, I mean her character being stupid, because clearly you're not going to take that as a Sith Lord.
And
one of the most powerful
we
Jedi of all
saw
time.
that because right after the ship took off, she came over and Vader took her to. He didn't even pull out his lightsaber.
No, I didn't. He just
kept
boom, boom, boom. Yeah,
that was insane.
Cool.
That was so badass.
Yeah,
yeah. And then obviously he stabs her. We get that big
the cut back between him stabbing her on Coruscant, which was
cool.
very cool.
That
I
was
like
cool.
I like that they morphed Hayden back and forth. They spliced him in. It wasn't too much. It was, I think, the right amount.
Yeah.
Because I was concerned. I'm not gonna lie. After 3 episodes, I was a little concerned that little thing on Mapuzo where we saw him with the cloak on was all we were gonna get. I'm like, oh, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But the tail end, 4
really
through,
brought it home.
really brought it home.
But then, so after she gets stabbed, she's on the ground. We see the Grand Inquisitor come back.
So he's alive.
So he's alive, and people. So this is what I wanted to bring up from earlier. But so people were a little upset when they first showed the Grand Inquisitor.
That's right.
He didn't look anything like he did in Rebels.
That's right.
But
I think there's a good resemblance there.
Well, in Rebels, he's I guess like his head is a lot more like oval shaped than circular.
Yeah.
So they're like, why are they doing this?
Well, humans don't have oval shaped heads.
Huh?
Humans don't have oval shaped heads on planet Earth.
Well, no, but then it makes sense because when he's stabbed, he gets stabbed through one of his stomachs. So you could say that, he's half like that affects him. And it just causes him to be a lot skinnier because he can only, eat half the food or something.
Right.
I guess you could say that's what
fair.
I was reading online. But that might be how you get to what he was in Rebels. from this. Like, this could be the reason that he looks like that in Rebels.
Okay.
So that was a cool thing. But, it was cool that they brought him back. So, obviously, Vader knew that she was either trying to cross him or whatever was going on. But it seemed like he knew from the start that she was one of the younglings.
I think yeah, I had a kind of a weird feeling of her. I was trying to figure out where did she come from, where'd they find her, but it makes sense that of course Palpatine took. I'm sure he took others too.
Well, they said that the Inquisitors were Jedi that turned to the Sith.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So they said that Inquisitors were Jedi. They said so. What better way to hunt a Jedi than with a Jedi? So.
The only interesting thing that I can think of would be the Force Unleashed plotline. I can't remember where Starkiller, who was the Jedi that Vader, I think he found him somewhere. I forget where. Somebody found him somewhere. But I'd like to see some of that.
Yeah.
If they do a Vader spinoff, I'd like to see him go out and find somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some nobody.
Definitely.
But yeah, so that's episode 5. And episode...
but don't forget this. In episode 5, at the end, Reva finds the
comlink.
The
yeah,
comlink
yeah.
That
the
says,
hologram.
If this is you need to tell me what to do, or I can go to Tatooine to help Owen. So
we end with a cliffhanger.
Yeah, she's going to Tatooine to kind of get her revenge in a different way.
Yep.
Because she couldn't get it from Vader directly. So then, episode 6, the final episode, was, I think, amazing.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think you kind of had this upward. The series trended upward, and then around episode 4 it started dipping a little bit, but episode 5 picked it back up, and it ended on a really, really high note.
Yeah.
I think episode 6 of Kenobi is right up there with Revenge of the Sith. In terms of some of the best Star Wars I've seen. Episode 5 Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, really, really up there. And again, I said it earlier, protecting and enhancing George Lucas's legacy. They did that again here, and I think they enhanced George Lucas's legacy, the prequels, even more.
Yeah.
And they made the prequels a lot better, I think.
Yeah.
More enjoyable now that you know.
It didn't just end and then now we're in A New Hope.
No, because now Vader has some redemption.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In episode 6 of Kenobi starts off with they're back on the ship and Vader and the Empire is trailing the rebels.
Yep.
And Kenobi decides to take the pod and bail.
Lead them away.
And it's interesting because, when he does that, the Grand Inquisitor's like, we should go after the Rebel Alliance, forget Kenobi. And Vader's like, no, let's go after Kenobi. And as you said earlier, Anakin being blinded by winning, once again, he should have gone after the Rebel Alliance.
Which, if he did, then if that is literally the Rebel Alliance, you decimate their.
That would have been it. That would have been it.
It would have been it. The Empire would have won. But when you're blinded by rage like that, and that Obi-Wan knew it. That's why Obi-Wan went, and he's like, I can get him away from you.
I don't know what planet it is that they went on. I'll have to find out. But it's this really cool, darker planet. I thought it would end on Mustafar, but that's a little corny now that I think about it.
It would have been cool, but a little corny.
But very cool. A lot of really tall stones, very barren wasteland, and it's dark out.
Yep.
So the lightsabers really shine, and I want to talk about the lightsabers at the end. So we get the battle between Vader and Kenobi, and it's fantastic. It's not short. Yeah. It's the right length. Finally, we see him.
Obi-Wan kind of holding his own at the beginning.
Holding his own at the end, and that move right there, that behind the back move that's something from episode 3. That's a prequel move, and you can see he's like, all right, he's back to his full strength. He's not 100% Obi-Wan.
Vader makes that comment though. He's like, he goes, what did he say?
You've regained your strength or something.
Yeah, you've regained your strength, but you're still not as strong as me or something.
Yeah.
He says.
I would agree with that, but Kenobi. He got him. He had him dead to rights.
That was at the beginning, and then obviously we have that scene where Vader buries Obi-Wan.
Yep.
And then he's walking away. He thinks he ended it, and you see Obi-Wan holding everything up
with the Force,
and he's like remembering back all these things. He explodes the rocks off of him, and then he goes back and he goes after Vader, and that's when he really looked like he was back to 100%.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
where he gets all the rocks.
And
he
yeah,
gets all
that
the
was
rocks,
that
throws
was so
them all
cool.
at Vader.
That was so cool. And
Yeah, that was so cool. And you said he had him dead to rights. He broke the mask. He saw his
yeah,
face.
we got to see Anakin. I thought
Which
that was really cool.
You told me the other thing yesterday too, that scene happened similar in Rebels.
Rebels, it was the other side.
And people kind of meshed the face
They
together,
did, yeah.
which is very cool. I looked it up yesterday. It's really cool.
It's a cool picture. Maybe we could set that as the thumbnail.
Oh yeah, I'll do that.
Or on Instagram or something.
So it was, that was a very cool scene because, like, again, it's like you see the struggle and the pain that Obi-Wan's feeling, because that's like his best friend. That, like, they did everything together. They were always together. That was his Padawan. And at the end, Obi-Wan failed him, and he feels that. Like, he feels that he's let him down and all this.
And Anakin said to him, he said, he's like, you didn't do this to me.
Yeah.
This was, I forget what he said. I think this was, did he say I did this to me or something?
He said
something like that.
Yeah, he said something. I can't remember the line.
But whatever the line was, it triggered a response from Obi-Wan, which was, so then my friend is dead, and he said goodbye, Darth.
Yeah, goodbye, Darth. My friend is truly dead, or something.
Yeah.
He says.
Which is interesting because he doesn't call him Anakin.
No, because
he calls
that's
him Darth.
He's done.
The next time we see Kenobi after this in A New Hope, he doesn't say Anakin, he says Darth.
Yes.
I think, or does he say Anakin at one point to Luke? Maybe he does. But to Vader, he only says Darth.
Well, I think when he's talking to Vader, when he's with Vader, he only says Darth.
Yeah.
So, or Vader, whatever he calls him. But it's like, and he yells, like, he screams like Obi-Wan, like he has this, like, remember, he like screams it.
Yeah.
And now you can see, I feel like you could see the pain that Anakin's feeling. And it's almost like to me it was almost like an abandonment feeling, like Obi-Wan left him for dead, and again he's leaving him for dead, like Obi-Wan's like only says, it's like he can only do so much at the realistically he can only do so much.
And it's interesting because now from episode 3 Kenobi and episode 4, Obi-Wan won all 3.
Yeah.
Even in episode 4. And the only thing that we don't know is why he did what he did in episode 4 and how he did it. But we can find out because Qui-Gon appears at the end. We're skipping a little bit, but
let's go real quick. Let's just go through it because there was like the little battle on Tatooine with Reva and Uncle Owen and Beru.
That was, to me, I understand why they had it in there. I think after the Vader battle, it was kind of a moot point, but I understand there's some redemption there with Reva.
But I mean, that's another thing that a lot of people were upset about, was that she was literally a war criminal. She did, she's probably killed thousands of people throughout the galaxy, and then she gets to walk away.
Yeah.
Which I get it. It's like that's like a little bit.
Well, it's a Star Wars. It's
Star Wars. It's it's a show, so you can't really expect too much, but. I think it was like a pretty cool thing because she didn't become Vader. She could have, and we even see it where she's can kill Luke, but she keeps seeing herself.
She chose to walk her own path, and
she chose to let and Obi-Wan literally says, like, you honored. She goes, I let them down, like I let all my friends down or whatever, all the ones that Vader did kill, and he's like, no, you honored them.
Yeah,
which I thought was a very cool scene because. It's like Obi-Wan could have killed Vader, and he didn't because that's not the way of the Jedi.
No,
he could have really struck a blow to the Empire, but that's not the way of the Jedi. He doesn't kill.
The Jedi defend life, and that's what he did there. And I think overall, Kenobi's choices from episode 3, he thought, I guess maybe then, he thought he killed Anakin, but he didn't really end his life there because he assumed he would fall into the lava pit.
Yeah.
Or into the lava, and Palpatine.
Which he did. The lava did. It sparked up on him, so then he was burning.
And then Palpatine showed up. But then we get the first meeting of Luke and Obi-Wan.
Which was cool. We got the hello there.
Hello there, yeah. And then you get all the memes. People, oh my God, there it is.
Yeah,
you said it. And then the last scene, Obi-Wan riding into the other thing I wanted to mention. I'm pretty sure the pass he's riding into is from episode 1. The pod racing, is that not the little?
Was it that one, or was it the one from episode 4 where him and Luke are looking at the what are they called? The Sand People.
It could be both.
Could be.
Could be both. I don't know. It looks really similar. You'd have to go back to Phantom Menace and then A New Hope to see that. But we got Liam Neeson back.
That was really cool.
That was really cool. He looked really good, and I read what he said online. He said that he did it because Ewan McGregor is a pal of his, and he respects George Lucas and wanted to honor his legacy. He didn't want somebody else playing Qui-Gon.
That's very cool. Well, he also has said like he just doesn't. He's like if they asked him if he would return for a show, and he said no. He's like if they want me to come back, like I'd rather do a movie.
Yeah.
Which and
he's too old for anything else.
Yeah. But this was like a cool. This was like a great cameo.
Oh, it was great. It was perfect.
I mean, if you never know what can happen, and money talks, I guess, because they could probably throw a bunch of money at Liam Neeson to get him back, because I feel like there's two options. Now that we've kind of gone through all the episodes, we can kind of give our thoughts on it, and then a potential for what's next. And I feel like for what's next, there's two options. One of my options that I've told you that I think that it would be very cool to see, even if it's like basically this whole story over again, but it's from Vader's perspective. Everything that we see is through Vader's eyes. We see the like Obi-Wan, we saw the broken Jedi who has been carrying this weight of mourning his friend that he thought was dead, that he was like literally just a loner, not even accepted by Owen to see Luke. So he's just this outcast that everyone's kind of forgotten about almost, that has all this baggage and all this sadness in him. So you can kind of flip that, and you can see all the anger and the hatred and the passion to find Obi-Wan from Darth Vader. And you can see that more destructive side, and that just everything that he does. Like imagine that scene from the second episode where we see Vader walk into the town. Imagine we see him coming from his that would be pretty cool. Something similar to that. Like, it doesn't have to be the same thing, but we see something very similar where it's all of Vader's perspective. So basically a Vader show, but you still have elements where you still have scenes where you see Obi-Wan, you see this fight, and you almost like feel like you're almost rooting for Vader in a way, because like you're seeing through his eyes and his pain. Yeah,
I like that a lot. I mean, I think the Disney would probably have to find some kind of. I guess that's pretty easy to market.
Yeah,
people. I mean, I would watch it.
Well, it's just because it's Disney. Would they do it? Because clearly it would have to be a pretty gory, pretty brutal show.
I mean, I think maybe what I think we might get would be a Kenobi season 2. Kind of like how they did with Mandalorian, where Kenobi season 1 was the big, rematch between Vader and Kenobi, and now maybe we just get Kenobi like 3 or 4 episodes. It's a mini series, and it's just him.
Well, that's kind of my second option, I guess, is we get like a couple episodes of him learning, or Qui-Gon teaching him about the Force ghosts and all this stuff, and the connection that he has to the Force and everything, and then eventually we see why, or like we get a reason why he oh god, sorry, we get the dogs barking now, but we get a reason why Obi-Wan kind of sacrificed himself, because Vader didn't like kill him.
Yeah, and
he kind of just lets him win, and then
we don't know what he did and why he did it, because when Vader hits him, I want to say almost as soon as the lightsaber gets to him, he's gone.
Drops. Yeah, he's gone. So gone. There has to be like maybe we get to see the reason. Maybe Qui-Gon says like there's going to be a time where you're going to have to protect Luke or whatever.
Or maybe in order to become a Force ghost, the only way for Kenobi to do that is to, I don't know. We would find out through that extension.
Yeah.
I would love to see, because there's tons of Vader stories out there, comic books, I like.
that's the one thing too that I'm very surprised about, that we haven't gotten at least like a solo Vader project or something.
I'm
where,
sure.
like, but and the amount of times that we've had it, and the amount of times that the amount of time that we've had without it, and where it's like, why haven't we yet?
I think they will, because he's going to be in Ahsoka now. There's no way they cast Vader as anyone but Hayden Christensen. I think you'll get a Vader spinoff show. I think for sure. The only thing
Hayden said that he would come back.
Yeah, I think for sure they'll do at least a Vader. They have to.
Yeah.
If not your idea, something else. But I think the one thing that Disney said is, they're willing to do a continuation if the story's right.
Right.
Not just to do it, and I agree with that.
I do too. I mean, I would love to see more of Qui-Gon, and I'd love to see more of what kind of what he has to teach him, like what else he has to teach him, because clearly there is something else there.
There's other stuff there they can do. I don't know that if they would go so far as to reenact the Rebels battle between Maul and Kenobi.
No, I mean that's done. I feel like because everything is connected.
That's true. Yeah, I don't think they would do that.
Everything that's happened has happened. So I don't think there's going to be more story to be told with that, because what they've done is done.
Well, so now it was another 10 years before that, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't want to see exactly what's happening in those 10 years. I'd rather see kind of one more story of Obi-Wan. I don't want them to beat it.
Oh no, I'm not saying do 10 years, do like a whole thing through the 10 years, but I'd love to see another Obi-Wan story.
Just like a little bit more, because clearly he got his kind of his he didn't like lose himself like he did, it seemed like, in the first 10 years between Revenge of the Sith and this. Like, he's in Rebels. He's fighting with the Rebels again. It's not just him in hiding anymore.
I think he's.
I want to see what happened in that time, because there is some. We don't know. I think maybe however many years it is between Rebels and this, like, he's been back in the game a little bit.
I think, and they said something about his costume at the end. I think he's kind of transitioned from Jedi Master to Jedi Grandmaster. Mm-hmm. So now he's kind of that Yoda, borderline Yoda type.
And I think him kind of meeting with Qui-Gon again is gonna really bring him to that.
Now that I think about it, maybe he gets a Jedi following, and there's another battle with Vader somewhere with the Empire. I don't know. That's a little far fetched, but it would be really cool if I'm thinking like another 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah,
I'm getting greedy. Or a movie maybe, I don't know, but that would be cool. That would be cool.
Liam Neeson would come back for a movie for sure. So, I mean, overall, what do you give it?
Probably 9.5 out of 10.
I feel like 9.2, 9.3.
Somewhere around. It's really great. Really, definitely worth rewatching.
It was so good.
It's part of Star Wars now. This is part of it.
This is Star Wars.
This is Star Wars.
Like, yeah, I love what they're doing, because there is so much story to be told in between the time of the prequels and the originals. There is a lot, and even a little bit after. Like, we have, because now we have that with Mando, which takes place after the original trilogy. We have Ahsoka. We have Boba Fett. We have the Andor series, which takes place before Rogue One.
Yep.
So then there's that series. So there's so many stories, and I kind of like it where it's not this very linear path. Like, they're creating the path, and it's like unfolding.
They're filling in the gaps.
So I think that's like really cool. I like that way more than just kind of prequels or originals than the prequels. And now let's get a new trilogy going. Let's just keep pushing forward with Star Wars.
Yeah,
like, show us
the movies only do so much because it's such a limited amount of time, 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Right. Kenobi was over 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
That's like 2 or 3 movies.
Yeah, it's like, let's say 2 movies, but it's what they can do in this is they can take their time more with each episode, as opposed to kind of just like, imagine if this was a movie, we could basically put what would have been in it. Like, they would have showed the flashbacks to
you would have had both fights.
You would have had both fights within probably like 30 minutes of each other. It would have been way. It wouldn't have been good. It would have been way too fast.
You're missing exposition. You're missing a lot of the Ice Cube's son was in it.
That's who that was.
That's who it was. Yeah.
That was. That's funny.
But overall, no, a fantastic show. High rewatchability. I'm gonna rewatch it as soon as I finish episode 3. And now we have possibilities for Beta Show, another Kenobi continuation. Who knows?
Star Wars is thriving right now.
This is good stuff. This is good stuff. We needed this a lot earlier, but we got it now. So.
And I'm happy with it because I mean you can even say that it was probably a little bit better budget or a little bit better production quality than what we would have had maybe 10 years ago.
And now that they've got all these viewers and all this buzz and they're doing the toys and the Funko Pops, hopefully maybe they'll get more money and season 2 will be better.
Oh yeah. And then we eventually we have the possibilities for the certain spin-offs. We have the I feel like a bright future with even the Star Wars, the certain Star Wars movies that are coming out, like Taika Waititi is directing a new Star Wars movie. So a lot happening for Star Wars. I'm excited. I'm really excited, especially after seeing this. There was a lot of hype built around this show. It could have really screwed things up and let people down, but I think overall it was fantastic.
And a big hello to the people that don't like it, because there's nothing not to like here.
Wow. I saw a lot of people hating on it, saying like the only people that like this is just people that love nostalgia, and I'm like,
that's not true.
I don't understand that. Like, there was so much. Obviously,
there's a lot to love if you're a prequel fan. There's a lot to love if you're an original trilogy fan.
Nothing is perfect, right? There's always going to be something that you can find that, and you can kind of just keep going and beating that down and just saying how bad it was. But just look at the big picture. Look at what we got. Like, we could have never got this show. We could have never seen what happened with Obi-Wan.
That's right.
There was something here that blew up. And we just, as fans, we got to be thankful for certain things. And I was so happy to see it, and I'm excited for everything that's going to come out with Star Wars now.
It's we got a lot to look forward to for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
What else? Is that it?
I think that might be it.
Yeah, I think that was a good episode back. So we're gonna try to get back on a little bit more of a consistent uploading schedule.
That's right.
And schedule moving forward, but. Thank you guys for listening this week. We're excited to do this episode. We really loved the show. So we'll catch you guys next week.
We'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.
See ya.